Hi everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. My name's Alice and today I'm going to be telling you all about how I'm getting on with reading in June. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name's Alice and I have a giant TBR of over 200 books to read. Last time we checked in, it stood at 209 unread books. So it's my mission at the moment to try and get through as many as I can before buying any more books. June is my birthday month, so there is potential for the TBR to go up slightly, so I've been trying to read as much as possible before that potentially happens. So this video is going to be a bit of a progress report, a bit of a check-in with my June reading, kind of a mid-month wrap-up. So the first thing that I've read this month was an audiobook. At the end of May I was listening to The Inimitable Jeeves by P.G. Wodehouse as part of the Jeeves collection, and I finished that quite quickly in June as I didn't have much left to read of it. I really enjoyed this book. It's very funny. I like the subtle humour that P.G. Wodehouse introduces. I loved the character of Bertie Wooster. He's very silly and not very bright, but I love the way he narrates the stories and always ends up needing help from Jeeves. This was a great collection of short stories. I was reading this for the 1900 to 1950 readathon and didn't quite get it finished in time. Hello Harry. Hello, you going to be in the video today? You going to be in the video? You sit down then. Sit down, I'm filming. As I was saying, I finished listening to this part of the Jeeves collection. It was the first book, and I've actually moved on to listen to the second book on it, which is Carey on Jeeves. I'm not actually enjoying this one as much. It is still funny. I think after this one I'll have a little bit of a break before carrying on with the rest of the collection and listen to some different audiobooks in the meantime. In terms of reading books, June got off to a really good start and I've finished 3 books already. All 3 of them were from my TBR that I made for June of books that I've been putting off reading the longest. So I've had all of these books on my TBR since around about 2008, maybe earlier, and the first book I read from that list was The House of Sleep by Jonathan Coe. I really enjoyed this book. It's not at all like the sort of books that I normally read. I would classify this as probably fiction, and I normally read more crime or thrillers, but this was such an interesting book. It's told in 2 timelines, one's in the 80s and one's in the 90s, and it basically follows a group of students in both those timelines. The main character who seems to link everybody together is Sarah, who is a narcoleptic. She sort of loosely ties together this other group of people, and in the present day, in the 90s, they all almost come back together but kind of don't. It's a really interesting book. There's a lot of different things about sleep. So one of the characters is an insomniac and Sarah, as I've said, is narcoleptic. So there's a lot in here about dreams, and it also centres around the building where they were all students, and this is now a sleep clinic run by one of the characters we encounter earlier in the book. It's kind of a book about different people's different obsessions. So Terry, the insomniac character, is obsessed with film. Dr. Gregory Dudden, who's the sleep specialist, is absolutely obsessed with sleep and the idea that we don't need sleep, which he's trying to prove. I don't feel like I can tell you a lot more without giving any spoilers, and I won't give any spoilers because I do think that this is a book that I would recommend. I like the way Jonathan Coe writes it. It's got a lot of interesting relationships in it. I read it over the space of a few days and I really couldn't stop reading it. I didn't want to put this down. The House of Sleep was a really great read. I've definitely been in a really good reading mood, especially in the first week of June. I went straight on to the next book, which was Gravity by Tess Gerritsen. This is set on board the International Space Station, and it's about a scientist called Dr. Emma Watson, and also kind of about her husband, Dr. Jack McCallum. They're about to get a divorce because he's no longer in the space programme and she is, but it's clear that they still feel for each other. Emma is sent to the space station earlier than her intended mission, and things start to go very, very wrong on the space station because a culture of single-celled organisms has infected the member of the crew. From that point onwards, this book is very, very gruesome and horrible, and I would say that although it's probably classed as a thriller, there's definitely an element of sci-fi because of it being set in space. It's also very much, I would say, a horror. Very different from Tess Gerritsen's other books. Very disturbing and very, very gruesome. So I wouldn't recommend this if you are faint of heart or don't enjoy horror. But I did enjoy it. I got through it very quickly, again in a couple of days. I just could not stop reading this one. It had some sort of horrible grip on me that I couldn't stop reading it, even though it was quite horrifying. It definitely reminded me of the film Life, which stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds, I believe, and came out in 2017. As I was reading this, I was thinking, I'm sure I've seen a film that was really similar to this. It did remind me of that film. This was written first. I know there's been a high profile court case between Tess Gerritsen and a movie studio about this book and about the film of the same name, which starred Sandra Bullock. I would say that this book is more similar to the film Life than it is to the film Gravity. If you want to know more about it, Tess Gerritsen does talk about it on her website. I do recommend this book if you like sort of space horror and are not squeamish. If you are squeamish, definitely do not read this book. I'm glad I've read it now and it's off the TBR. Still in the same week, I also read Written in Bone by Simon Beckett. I'd already read Simon Beckett's previous book, which is called The Chemistry of Death. It is about the same character, who is a forensic anthropologist called Dr. David Hunter. If you've been watching my channel for a little while, you'll know that I haven't got on very well with other books about forensic anthropologists. I didn't like the Bones series by Kathy Reichs. In contrast, I do like the main character, David Hunter, more than I like Temperance Brennan. Like, the science of investigating bones isn't something that especially interests me in a thriller, but this one was readable enough. Again, I got through it in a couple of days, even though it's quite a hefty book. It's very easy to read. Again, I would not read this if you are at all squeamish. There are quite a few deaths in this and quite a lot of fire. It was okay as a thriller. I enjoyed it while I was reading it. It certainly has an interesting ending. Yeah, I don't think this is the best book. I probably won't read the rest of the series. I suppose if anything, there's a possibility that I might read the next book just to find out what happened with this one, but I don't think I'm really going to bother. It wasn't a favourite of mine. It wasn't a bad book. It certainly kept me reading. Very readable. Probably a bit too long. It was an enjoyable book, but I wouldn't highly recommend it. So I read those 3 books in the first week of June, and since then I've been going a bit more slowly. Next, I started Skeleton Crew by Stephen King. This is a book of short stories. It's really, really good. There have been short stories in it that I haven't liked as much, or that I haven't really got the point of, but those are few and far between. There is some really, really good writing in this book. The collection starts off with The Mist, which is either a very long short story or a novella. I don't know if it's ever been released on its own in novella form. It's 150 odd pages, and that is a really good suspenseful story. Some very gruesome elements. I really, really enjoyed The Mist, so much so in fact that I decided to check out the film of The Mist and also the Netflix series of The Mist, and I started both on the day that I'd finished reading The Mist. This book also has some good shorter short stories. Some of them I wouldn't describe as out and out horror, they're just kind of interesting. I feel that way about Mrs. Todd's Shortcut. Some definitely have sort of horror elements. I enjoyed The Jaunt and Word Processor of the Gods for the elements that Stephen King introduces to those, which are also a little bit sci-fi. There's a short story in here called The Raft, which is absolutely horrific. That was terrifying. There's a very short story called The Reaper's Image, which is very spooky. It gave me more of the feeling of a sort of ghostly horror story. I'm only 2 stories away from finishing this book. Currently reading a story called The Ballad of the Flexible Bullet, which seems good so far, and that's quite a long one. Yeah, this is my first experience of Stephen King short stories. I've previously only read his novels Carey and Cell, both of which I recommend in different ways. In his short stories you can see why Stephen King is a master of his craft. The way he uses description and the way he uses immense amount of details, but yet keeps the story short and interesting, is just very, very good. I wouldn't say horror was one of my favourite genres, and some of these are very, very horrible, but I have really enjoyed this. I've been going a bit more slowly with it because it's short stories, and I've also been going a bit more slowly with it because I can't read it in bed because it's too scary to read at night. You never know which story is going to be one that will keep you awake at night, so I haven't been reading this at night time. So at the same time as this, I actually have made some progress on a book I talked about in a different video, Don Quixote. I started Don Quixote at the beginning of the month and read a little bit of it. Got a little bit stuck on the prologue. There was lots of poetry in the prologue, which was a bit strange, but as soon as I got onto the actual story, this is actually really funny. I wasn't expecting it to be so funny, and it's very readable. Again, it's difficult to read in bed because it's such a big book. I have been reading this on and off in between Stephen King short stories, and sometimes just reading this for a day instead. And I'm currently up to page 96. That's chapter 13, so I'm really pleased with the progress I'm making on Don Quixote. It's not a book that I would be able to rush or would want to rush, but so far I'm enjoying it far more than I thought I would, and it's actually surprisingly easy to read for a book that was written in the 1600s. Very pleased with my decision to read this one, and hopefully I'll make a lot more progress on it and be able to tell you some more about it later on in June. So I'm not sure what's going to be next after I finish Skeleton Crew. I'm not going to start another book until I finish that one, but I will start another book to read alongside Don Quixote, because when I'm reading classics I just need breaks from them sometimes, and I've got lots of other things to read, as you know. I actually ran a poll on Twitter and on Instagram in the week to see what I should read next after Skeleton Crew, and I offered a choice of 4 books, and the one book that I put in that I really, really don't want to read is the one that everyone's recommended I read. I think I got 1 vote for Life Expectancy by Dean Koontz. I got 2 votes for Alone by Lisa Gardner, and I got 5 or 6 votes for The True History of the Kelly Gang. If you've watched my June TBR, you'll know that this was the book I was least looking forward to for the month. I have since found out that it's a very highly critically acclaimed book. The author has twice won the Booker Prize, and I think one of those Booker Prizes might have been for this book. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to put off reading it any longer, so after Skeleton Crew I am going to give this a try. I'm telling you this so that I have to do it, and I'll let you know how I get on. I'm not looking forward to it, but it is supposed to be really, really good, and it's all about Ned Kelly, the Australian outlaw. Hopefully by the end of the month I will have read this and some more of my TBR pile, because there's still quite a few books left on it. That's all from me today. I haven't got any other books to update you on, so that was my mid-month mini wrap-up. I'm still really enjoying reading. I'm hoping that my next book isn't going to put me off. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I make videos at least twice a week in which I talk about my adventures in books, my TBRs, books I've been reading, and I also sometimes make videos about children's books. Please let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books or would like to. Do you like horror, or is it a genre that you avoid? And do please let me know if you have read The True History of the Kelly Gang, because I need support to get this started. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll join me again soon for another video all about books on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.